To begin, there was a photograph. You disseminated your photograph to individuals that you have never met and evaluated them in private. In the beginning, it was a casual affair, a simple picture that was passed around as if it had no significance, a digital frame, a moment that was captured in time of you. But do you not experience it? That stirring deep in your spirit, the unshakable feeling that something moved the instant your picture left the safe refuge of your solitude and reached the hands of strangers. Is it a coincidence that I am sending you this message right now? It is one of the divine laws of the universe. Yes, it is the law of attraction. Before moving on to the message, please like the video so that this message can reach other people as well, my dear. You must also receive and accept this message with love. If you write, "I received and accepted it with love," in the comments and seal it with 555, you will maintain the balance of giving and receiving. Additionally, heaven is watching who responds. You will find a super thanks button below this video. When you donate $22 or more, you are not tipping a creator, you are planting a heavenly seed. And Archangel Michael promises, every divine seed bears divine fruit. Support the awakening. Heaven remembers those who do this. Don't forget to stay tuned and subscribe for our other messages, adds Archangel Michael. Now we can slowly move on to his message. Despite the fact that you were unable to hear their voices, you felt a tremor from within, as if your own being had caught the echo. They looked at your face as if it were a painting that they tried to decipher but were unsuccessful. What their eyes look for is not who you are, but rather what you have the potential to be for them. As a point of interest, a point of comparison, and a talk starter. They did not inquire about your authorization. Your tale was not asked about by them. Simply seeing and judging in silence was all they did. However, silence is not devoid of meaning. This is not the case when it is loaded with energy, with assumptions, and with the weight of opinions that are not voiced. The stillness that Jesus entered was not to pass judgment on you, but rather to testify about what he believed. Indeed, he did it. There is no pause. With every sneer, each and every erroneous conclusion that is disguised as a casual comment, he was able to witness everything. He listened to all that was said. In addition, he wants you to be aware of what they have spoken, not with the intention of destroying you but rather to reawaken you because something holy is taking place. Someone you depended on in the past. Or it may be that a person who knew you held up your photograph as if it were a mirror to a room full of people who had ideas about you. They inquired, "What do you think of them?" Although the question was not usually phrased in words. At other occasions, the question was asked with a wink or a chuckle thrown in for good measure. There were other instances in which it was muttered with a tone that conveyed more than words could ever convey. Although they were unfamiliar with you, they experienced a certain emotion upon seeing you. In addition, that particular thing caused them to feel uneasy. It is because when a person carries divine light, the darkness that exists in other people either seeks to conceal itself or to attack. Your photograph, which appeared to be completely innocent, turned out to be a conduit for both projection and prophecy. Those who saw it experienced feelings of envy. Others felt admiration that they were unable to acknowledge. Your face unearthed what they feared the most, and other people saw aspects of themselves that they had buried under the ground. Authenticity, power, purpose. The things that they uttered were not truly about you. It all came down to the feelings that your presence awoke in them. However, you were not present in the room to make a statement, were you? It was someone else, however. Someone who has never abandoned you in times of need. When they look at that picture, they have no idea what it took to get you to grin. On the nights that you cried in private, they are not privy to your emotions. No one celebrated the silent wars that you fought with the grace that you displayed. To them, it is nothing more than a face, a hairstyle, or a moment that has been frozen in imitation time. But as far as heaven is concerned, that picture bears the imprint of perseverance. Bits and pieces of suffering transformed into a calm strength. They made the assumption instead of asking what was going on behind your eyes. In their decision, they did not inquire about your identity. Now, what if I told you that Jesus was aware of what they had to say? Each and every falsely concerned tone, each and every caustic remark, and each and every statement that is wrapped in spiritual-sounding poison. It was not because he needed to acquire information that he listened to them. Rather, it was because he wanted you to know that you were examined before you were evaluated. To add insult to injury, they did not only see your face. It was your desire to do so. Some people were frightened by it. It made other people more pliable. Despite this, it was never overlooked. In addition, the time has come to reveal what was previously discussed in private. One of them paused for a longer period of time than the others. There was a person that looked at your image but did not say anything. A storm, however, was brewing in their quiet. It was a powerful reaction from their spirit. Not because you caused them pain, but rather because your brightness confronted the darkness that they had been able to accept for a long time. It is possible that you will never learn their name. It is possible that you will never meet them, but the fact that their spirit recognized yours ignited something within them, a recollection of the person they could have been if they had not buried their calling. Although they did not speak out loud, their excitement was almost audible. Jesus, on the other hand, stood between you and the anger that you refrained from expressing. You were protected by him. You were protected from spiritual assaults that were launched on the wings of envy by him. Because you are oblivious to the fact that your photograph was not simply circulated among people. It was exposed to spirits. Some of the ghosts came out to steal while others came out to destroy. Jesus, however, who had always been the shepherd, stood guard. And this time he is letting you know that the struggle that you was experiencing but were unable to identify was a real one. Are you sure you don't remember that past evening? When there was a change in the air and the candle that was near your window began to flicker as if it were responding to something that was not visible. Despite the fact that you believed you were by yourself, your spirit began to stir. The rhythm of your heart began to quicken. It was a mystery to you, but you now understand why. That was the very time when they displayed your photograph. At that same time, the conflict between the spiritual realms began. When you saw that flame flickering, it was heaven's way of letting you know that you are not invisible. Because the moment your image became a topic of conversation, your fate also became a subject of discussion. Your appearance was not the only thing they were discussing. They were speaking against your calling whether they were aware of it or not. And Jesus was unable to maintain his silence. So he arrived in breeze and warmth, in whisper. He did not come to merely console you, rather he came to mark you. For a time like this very moment. Despite the fact that what they said after that was not intended for your hearing, heaven recorded it anyhow. Words that are whispered behind someone's back have the ability to reverberate throughout eternity. In the natural world you might not be able to hear them, but your spirit does. Have you noticed that your spirit has been feeling heavy as of late? But not because of what you did, rather because of what was done behind the scenes. However, the holy truth is as follows. Their viewpoint was loud, but the truth is even more unmistakable. For a long time, you have been carrying accusations that you have never heard but still felt. A sense of guilt that was never yours. Shame that was cultivated rather than born. On the other hand, Jesus is going to speak over the lies tonight. In other words, he is stating, I was there. I heard them and I choose you. This is due to the fact that your identity is not formed by the residue of human judgment. The voice that talked you into existence is the one that influences it. Even though they made an effort to conceal it, there was admiration as well. When someone glanced at your photo, they were unable to tear their gaze away from it any longer. In awe, not in lust, but in awe. There's something in you that unsettles the shallow, its depth, its dignity, its divine design. Because they were unable to locate it, they either disregarded it or, even worse, derided it. As a result of the fact that when folks do not comprehend your anointing, they attempt to diminish it. However, they only see the jar and they do not notice the oil that is on your life. Yet Jesus is aware of both. Not only does he see the vessel, but he also sees the fissures, the story, and the continuation of the oil flow. As a result, Jesus took notes on what they refused to acknowledge whenever they talked, including those who smiled sweetly. This one belongs to me. Imagine for a moment that I informed you that your face, and only your face, was the reason someone chose to reevaluate their own life. That they were reminded of the innocence they had lost, the peace they had given up, and the road they had given up because of something in your look. Not a single person was informed. In contrast, when they saw you, they experienced a wonderful sensation. Some of the people who saw your photo did not express their opinions. Some of them were found guilty. Some of them were made more pliable. Even when no one was looking, one of them shed tears. A tear that they were unable to explain. When they thought of a name, it was one that they hadn't heard in years. Your name is. Even though they did not know you, your soul was not unfamiliar to them. They were brought back to a memory that they had forgotten. This earth is still inhabited by that one light. And at that precise instant, heaven bowed its head. Due to the fact that what they saw was not you. It was the Christ that was within you. On the other hand, not every whisper was nasty. Some of them were prescient. There was a divine revelation that was concealed within the din with the comments. The veil was broken by the words of one individual, who was perhaps the least likely to have said them. They stated, "There's something about them that makes them seem like they're meant for more." It was a simple statement that was almost dismissed, but the Spirit was able to pick up on it. And Jesus wore a grin. Because of that particular instant, that minuscule seed of truth has started to germinate. There is no need for you to try to defend your light. It is able to speak of itself. Even in rooms that you are not permitted to enter, and even in conversations that you are not supposed to listen in on. And now the time has come for the truth to echo louder than the chatter. Had they been aware that Jesus was listening, would they have continued to say the same things? Would they have changed their tone of voice if they had sensed his presence in the present moment? Have they become more lenient in their words? But the sad reality is that he was present. It is not to condemn them or to inflame you that he is here speaking to you at this moment. Rather, he is here to draw you deeper. Mostly due to the fact that this particular moment, this covert treachery or heavenly recognition, happened by chance. There was a revelation from on high. The heavenly realm desired for you to be aware that your name is being called out. Not only is your spirit being felt, but also your assignment is being taken into consideration. This message was real. So make your response real. Hit super thanks, and give $33 or more. You're not funding a video, you're sowing into transformation. What is the verdict that heaven has already made regarding you? Are you prepared to hear it? Being discussed in your absence carries with it a certain reverence that cannot be overstated. It is almost as if your soul enters a room before your body does at any point in time. You have been the focus of people's criticisms in the past. You was aware of it in your gut. The peculiar tension that occurs in your chest when someone who smiles at you has subconsciously questioned the value that you bring to the world. The abrupt coolness that comes over you in a warm place, like a presence that brushes against your spirit. These instances did not include paranoia. These messages were spiritual alerts and warnings. There are more people who have talked about you than you will ever be aware of. However, Jesus has been there in each and every one of these rooms, as people with limited mental capacities attempted to make sense of a significant calling. Moreover, he has not once turned his back on you in any way. He's seen the words soar through the air like arrows. Despite this, he continued to say, "Do not be afraid. I have gone before you. You are not the sum of their suspicion. You are the evidence of a prophecy unfolding. You have always felt a little too seen and somehow still invisible. However, the veil is being lifted now." He whispers, "Even now they whispered, but I heard." The words they said were not lost in the air. Rather, they fell not in your ears but in the courts of heaven. Some people assessed your appearance, others judged your past, and some people were perplexed by your peace. Others criticized your looks and others condemned your past. Some others said, "Why do they look so confident?" unaware that your confidence isn't arrogance, it's survival? Others wondered how someone like you could be able to carry such a substantial amount of calm. The armor that you crafted in private with tears and prayer is the one that you have. The expense was something that they failed to recognize. Scripture and stillness were the means by which you kept yourself together throughout those nights. When you got up in the mornings despite the fact that your heart was breaking. Were they aware, but they chose not to inquire about it? Now, Jesus is requesting that you let go of something that they have never acknowledged. To stop bearing the burden of their misunderstanding and to quit carrying it. Mostly due to the fact that your soul was never intended to yield while being judged by others. According to the divine truth, it was intended to ascend. It was never intended for you to fight back. This time, not at all. The purpose of this was not for you to defend yourself, explain yourself, or correct the picture that they painted against you. However, that is not your fight. The war that you are engaged in takes place in the Spirit, in the holy silence, where God recasts the story that they attempted to transform. Being misunderstood is a powerful position to be in, as you can see. You will be in good company with the prophets, with the saints, and even with the Savior himself. Jesus was misunderstood by the same people about whom he had grown to love. The experience of being seen but not known is one he is familiar with. He stood next to you and said, "I know who you really are. You are not their version of you. You are his." This occurred when your image was being circulated and when your name became a topic of casual discussion. To add insult to injury, he is setting a table not only for you but also in front of them. Heaven was keeping a close eye on them whenever they spoke out of turn. The purpose of this is not vengeance but rather revelation. At this very moment something is being disclosed and it is you. This is being brought to your attention at this very moment for a specific reason. Why you have been experiencing pain in your heart for no apparent reason. Itching has been experienced in wild wounds. The reasons behind the reappearance of some memories that you buried a long time ago. It is not a random occurrence. This is the resurrection. You are losing the old you, the one that they attempted to define with their many points of view. What is emerging in its stead is a version of you that they will not recognize, a version that they are unable to label, and a version that they are unable to exert any control over. This revelation, this divine exposure, is not solely about the things that they have spoken. Now is the time to listen to what God has to say. The rooms in which your name was mistreated are no longer appropriate for you. Your development has progressed beyond the roles that they attempted to force you into. Jesus is telling his followers to come up higher. This is because the perspective from heaven is not influenced by rumors or rumors. The glory shines upon it. Do you remember experiencing delight for no apparent reason or despair that seemed out of place in the present moment? What you are experiencing is your soul reacting to spiritual currents. While some are more reverent, you must have sensed that as they passed your photo, don't you consider that? Perhaps not consciously, but there was a change in the situation. A sense of melancholy, a sense of strain, and a glimmer of uncertainty, and then it vanished, just like the image did as it moved from one user's phone to another's heart. Heaven, on the other hand, did not keep it or seize it in order to control you but rather to liberate you from it. Due to the fact that this message is not about them. What is at stake is for you to regain what has always been yours. There is clarity, dignity, and destiny. The purpose of Jesus revealing the whispers is not to embarrass you. It is for the purpose of crowning you. Mostly due to the fact that they looked at more than just your looks. This was a favor for you. Your identity has always been known. Have you not experienced it? It is difficult for people to explain what they perceive to be present in you. A number of people are perplexed by it while others find it inspiring. It is not your attractiveness. It is not your good looks. Your whole being, your spirit is what it is. The item that cannot be summed up in a sentence or captured in a selfie are both examples of this. Your own being bears the imprint of God's fingerprints. As a result of seeing your photo, they had the same emotions. What caused them to either lean in or back away was that. In no way did you request it. Actually, you didn't even want it. It is not always the case. On the other hand, it is yours. The mantle, the light, and the calling that cannot be shaken. Therefore, as they began to speak your name, they sparked something that they were unable to comprehend. There was a divine response, an awakening. You are also experiencing it at this now. What they believed about you is not true. You are more than that. You were evaluated completely out of context. Heaven, on the other hand, is the context. Every single wound, every single victory, and every single step that you took by yourself. Although they were focusing on your face, Jesus was concentrating on your heart. What he observed, however, was not resentment. It was not a matter of shame. Beauty that was unpolished, wild, and unapologetic was what it was. We are the product of conflicts that they have never witnessed before. The scars you have on your body are wonders. They continued to have the audacity to define you, yet the things that they spoke are nothing in comparison to what God has declared about you. Their viewpoint was very loud. But the truth speaks more loudly. This truth is coming up like a flood, and it is breaking through every false label that has been placed on it. You are not required to be the person that they claimed you were. That is exactly who he claims you are. Are you prepared to accept it as true? Heaven shifted the moment they exchanged their words. In a state of alignment rather than anger. Mainly due to the fact that even their talk cannot escape the divine intent. What they intended to do to you is now being used to provide you with blessings. The words that they spoke in the shadows are now being replied in the light. In addition, you are the key. The stage has been set for your redemption, and it starts with their judgment. Their hushed voices have turned into the wind that is propelling you upward. This is the role that Jesus plays. In doing so, he transforms something that was intended to be humiliating into a sacred ground. Every single opinion that they have developed and every single sentence that they believed will characterize you is currently being rewritten, and the author of your life is just getting started. They do not have the last say in issues. In heaven it is. Perhaps as of late you can feel the draw. A feeling that something is shifting but you are unable to identify what it is. a peculiar conflict that exists between your past and your time to come. This is due to the fact that you are currently in the middle of the threshold of revelation. The outdated viewpoints are falling apart. The aged labels are currently on fire. Jesus is calling you into the truth, the authentic version of yourself. It is not the version that has been reduced to pixels and staircases, but rather the version that was crowned in heaven before you were even on earth. The one who was recognized, established, and summoned. You have been hiding not by chance but with the purpose of protecting yourself. And at this moment, he is revealing you not to the standards of the world, but to the glory of himself. Is it possible that the thing that causes you the most agony is also the thing that ultimately sets you free? Can you recall the message that you saw at 3:33 on that particular evening? Alternatively, the name that you hadn't heard in years suddenly appeared in a song, a dream, or a conversation that you attended. It was not a coincidence by any means. Your spirit was being spoken of, prepared, and called upon, and these were confirmations and signals from above. They started a chain reaction in the spirit realm when they passed your picture, which brought about the event. As a result, Jesus is now completing what they had begun without their knowledge. In locations where only the truth is spoken, he is bringing your name to the forefront. The rooms that you have not yet entered are being anointed with your presence by him. Because what they stated is irrelevant to this discussion. In this moment, it is about what he is saying. His voice is so loud that it drowns out everything else. Is it audible to you? Am I able to sense it? The stirring that occurs within you, as if your soul is rousing itself from a deep and restful slumber period. You were never intended to be the one to bear the burden of their perception. When you were created, you were not intended to live in the shadow of the misunderstanding of another person. You were designed to shine in the light. Even at this moment, the light is coming to find you. It is Jesus who is removing the curtain that they have attempted to pull over your purpose. The insecurities of another person will no longer be a filter through which your identity is experienced. You will no longer hear your name reverberate in places that are devoid of people and whose hearts are too empty to hold your truth. The Holy Spirit is near. You felt it? Don't miss this moment. Click super thanks and give what you can with a pure heart. He is shattering the mirrors that serve the purpose of reflecting back erroneous impressions of you. Moreover, he is putting something that will last forever in their place. The view from heaven of what you look like. What would you think about that? What does it sound like when God calls out your name? Not in laughter, not in muddled thinking, but rather in power, in love, and in truth that is ferocious and unmovable. For far too long, you have been apologizing for being the person that God has called you to be. However, that will come to an end tonight. Would you like to know what caught them completely off guard? It was somebody else's face. It really wasn't your thing. In fact, it was not even your tail. In your eyes, it was the tenacity that stood out. The peace that resides within your spirit. Even after everything that you've been through, the fact that you still carry light is extremely admirable. They were unable to comprehend how someone like you could not lose their composure. The fact that you did not lash out, vanish, or reduce yourself in order to accommodate their comfort level. The grace that they witnessed was misunderstood by them as weakness. They misinterpreted the humble attitude for a lack of resources. Nevertheless, Jesus was able to see. Additionally, he was aware that light was not a random phenomenon. Not a single piece was taken from us. It was manufactured. Through the use of fire, through betrayal, and through being spoken about in ways that would have broken someone else, you have earned it. But you persevered, and they picked up on that, which made them uneasy because no one had informed them that you were the one who was chosen. How often do you get the impression that someone is watching you? There is no dread, but rather a profound awareness. That someone was seeing you from a distance, attempting to derive some meaning from your tranquility. This is not a product of your thoughts. You have a good sense of judgment. It has been longer than you realize that they have been watching you. Some of them are envious, while others are reverent, but they are unable to admit it. You have entered rooms and effortlessly altered the ambience without uttering a single word. Your reputation is comprised of more than just your outward appearance. A legacy is carried by it. The echoes of prayers that were murmured by your ancestors and sealed by heaven are heard in the spirit. Not only do you show up, but you do it with a specific intention. And even from a photograph, people had that impression. They were at a loss to make sense of why they were drawn to it and why they continued to stare at it. However, you are now aware that it was not you that they were seeing. There was God within you. The reflection of his actions cannot be disregarded. Let's delve even further. At the same time that they were quick to judge you, there are those people who secretly wish they were you. It is not to replicate your life or to wear your clothes. Rather, it is to experience what you carry. There is a sense of significance, tranquility, and presence. Even though they have sought acceptance, image, and adulation, they continue to feel empty. After that, your face walks into the room without making any boasts or requesting anything voluntarily. They suddenly have the impression that their own life are a fake. You are not to blame for that. They are coming to their senses. Even at that very moment, you were sent with the purpose of serving as a mirror, not for vanity but for truth. Furthermore, even though they could have laughed at you or disregarded you, the seed was sown. It is impossible for seeds to remain buried in the light. You serve as a constant reminder that purpose does not yell, rather it shines. And that glow has started to spread far and wide. Do you feel prepared for what? It is beginning to awaken. As this unfolds, Jesus has been watching it with a tenderness that no human being could possibly convey. The reason he did not hurry to protect you was not because he did not care about you. Rather, he was waiting for the appropriate time to demonstrate who you truly are. Not as a form of retribution, but rather as a form of revelation. He will sometimes allow misunderstandings to take their course so that when the truth finally comes, it will come like thunder. You were never intended to be comprehended by each and every person. Anointing like yours is not common. Your way is holy, and holiness is a mystery to those who are proud, but it comes to those who are broken. At that very moment, when your photograph was being circulated, a person who was going through a difficult time could see something in you that gave them hope. Rather than in your flawlessness but in your extremely presence. The point that Jesus is emphasizing right now is this. The way that heaven sees you, not the way that they saw you. And it is, in every sense of the word, holy. Despite the fact that you might believe that this is only about a moment, a photo, or a comment, it is not. A bigger pattern that has followed you throughout your entire life is the subject of this discussion. There is a misunderstanding. One who is being watched but never actually seen. Prior to your ability to communicate, you were classified. There is more to Jesus than simply addressing what took place. He is answering questions about what has been going on. This is where the cycle comes to an end. Here is where the lie that you have to be who other people say you are comes to an end. Now is the time to put an end to the notion that your value is contingent on their acceptance. Even though they were whispering, he was able to hear them. The things that he heard caused him to feel uneasy. Not because he is unaware of who you truly are, but rather because he is aware of who you are. And it is time for you to be aware of it as well. Those are things that you will never hear again. It's possible that this is grace. However, Jesus overheard them. And it was not out of anger that he shed tears. Rather, it was out of compassion for you and for them, because pride can bring about sightlessness. The fact that the figure they derided bore his likeness caused him to shed tears. He created you in his image not to impress them but to mirror him. You were created in his image. And each time someone attempted to lessen it, Jesus stepped between you and their words, absorbing the pain so that you would not have to carry it for the rest of your life. However, he is now saying, "Let me show you what they couldn't see." He is lifting the mirror not of man but of heaven. He is taking the mirror away from man. In addition, if you look inside of it, you won't see what they discovered. You will witness magnificence. Even at this moment, do you sense the presence? You feel a warm sensation settling on your shoulders. The gentle breeze that blows through a room that does not have any windows open. The sense of calm that wells up within of you. No, it is He. It is Jesus. He has been there for you through each and every charge that has been made in silence. You did not show any signs of flinching when other people took notice of your story. The person who addressed you by name before anyone else ever referred to you by a label. It is not enough for him to simply soothe you. He is also here to clarify things and to express what only he can say. Mainly due to the fact that when Jesus speaks, every falsehood is silenced. The words of gossip get muted, the shadows recede, and the only thing that remains is light. This particular moment is not a coincidence. In a prophetic sense, it is not merely a message that you are hearing. You are about to enter a revealing situation. The most illuminating aspect is this. You have been selected. The time has come for this truth to be revealed. For far too long, you have strolled around behind the cloak of the words of others. But not any longer. Jesus is revealing the truth in the same way as a sunrise does. And the information that he is giving is stunning. This is not because you are perfect. Rather, it is because you are genuine, really and without a doubt his identity. The photograph that they distributed did not capture the entirety of your story, but it did set in motion the subsequent chapter. It is a chapter in which no space can define you, no whisper can delay you, and no judgment can alter what heaven has written. Are you aware of it? Those changes in your spirit, those feelings of release? They were wrong about who you are. You're not even the person you ought to be. You are more than that. And it is the one who shaped you who is urging you to come forth. The goal is not to fight but to climb. When he is about to show you something, are you prepared to see it? Are you prepared to accept the identity that has always been yours but has been buried behind the noise? I'm not just telling you a narrative. This is a change, more specifically a divine recalibration, in which the picture that they both shared becomes the prophecy that God fulfills. However, your spirit was lifted up even if your picture was spread around. And at this very moment, the sky are uttering what the earth has been attempting to deny. This one belongs to me. In this case, the ruling has been reversed. Clarification is gradually taking the place of the confusion. And those individuals who believed they were familiar with you are about to encounter someone they have never encountered before. The true you, the anointed you, the one who has been resurrected. Because the entire world pays attention to what Jesus has to say. At this very moment, a sacred weight is resting on your name. It is not the weight of judgment that bears the burden of glory. The things that they discussed behind closed doors were not ignored by anyone. And the question was not left unanswered. The response from above has not been one of vengeance but rather of elevation. There will be no repercussions for you. Positioning is being done for you. When it comes to heavenly favor, this is the dilemma. When people make an effort to belittle you, God will magnify the things that are already present within you. Something that had already been sown was only triggered by their whispers. There was a seed of purpose that required pressure in order to germinate. It was the pressure that you felt, wasn't it? The phantom weight of false tales, the hands of rejection that are not visible to the naked eye. But you continued to stand. You continued to rise. And while Jesus was standing in that very room where everybody was passing around your photo, he muttered something that completely altered everything. That one is developing into. Changing into what? Being unstoppable was the question they asked. Your gift doesn't have to be massive to move heaven. It just has to be sincere. Tap super thanks, and so $20 plus. God sees every act of faith, being unable to be refuted. In the process of becoming the person you were always destined to be. The blaze that burns within your spirit was not taken into account. This fire is currently spreading to other areas. Even though you might not be aware of it, a door has just opened. In the spirit, not in the physical, yet not yet in the physical. Mostly due to the fact that whenever someone mentions your name, they immediately emit either poison or a prophecy. And both of them are filtered by Jesus. He never allows even a single phrase to go by without a specific intention. Therefore, when they evaluated your appearance, he looked into your heart. In addition, when people questioned your value, he proved that you were meant to be here. This door, which you have been hammering on for years, is finally beginning to break open. It is not because they have finally given their approval. Rather, heaven has determined that the time has come. Finally, it is time for you to enter the rooms where your name was once made fun of previously. Not in order to demonstrate your own worth, but rather to demonstrate that the grace of God does not conform to human opinion. Am I able to sense that? When you feel a lifting sensation in your chest, that is the sound of shame slipping off your shoulders. Mostly due to the fact that you were never intended to bear their unbelief. You were only intended to carry a light with you. Someone who viewed your photo attempted to curse you with some form of sarcasm, some form of subtle harshness cloaked in comedy, and some form of mistrust. On the other hand, they were unaware of the fact that Jesus was standing between you and that curse. It was then that he did something holy after he had captured it, turned it around, and converted it. He had it converted into fuel. It is because of this that you have been experiencing a peculiar sense of urgency, a fire within your spirit that is not going to allow you give up. There is no coincidence in that. The process of redemption is shown here. They made an effort to restrict you by labeling you. You, however, will be launched with a legacy by Jesus. There is more to you than the sum of their mutterings. You are the one who ignites a magnificent blaze of passion. At this point, the fire had only started to spread. All okay, let them watch. Allow them to investigate, for the thing that they intended to inflict harm is now becoming your altar. It was remarked that you were excessively sensitive, overly intense, and too much. It is too dissimilar. On the other hand, Jesus said, perfect, perfectly designed for the mission that lies ahead. Therefore, they were not rejecting you. Those individuals were rejecting the version of themselves that they perceived to be represented in your strength. It was not intended for you to be discouraged by that rejection. The purpose of it was to improve you. Jesus collected every dismissal, every backhanded statement, and every glance of suspicion like stones. He did this with every single one of them. Moreover, he is currently constructing something with them. One's testimony, one's foundation, and one's platform. He is demonstrating to you that nothing that is said against you will be successful. Exactly one word. You do not have to make any changes to the record. You are receiving that favor from above. All that is required of you is to continue moving forward, upward into the fire that does not devour you but rather crowns over you. There is no need for you to try to defend your light. It is able to defend this. In recent times, you have been experiencing a presence that is not a product of your imagination. When you pray, you feel that warmth, that breeze that blows when you are not moving, that feeling that someone sacred is close by. Jesus is the one it is. In addition to bringing you comfort, he is moving nearer to you in order to reawaken you. He is bringing to your attention the fact that you do not need to seek affirmation from them. It was at the cross that you were validated. It is not the applause that determines your value. Sacrifice is the foundation of it. It is his. Moreover, he is now whispering once more. Your photo was seen by them. I was able to see your suffering. Someone observed your posture. I was aware of your wishes. And while they were evaluating your outward appearance, he was sanctifying your inner being. Right now there is a fire all around you. Prophetic, protecting, and purifying. You are not merely experiencing survival at this moment. You are being made holy as a result of it. Whenever they laughed, heaven shed tears. There was complete quiet among the angels while they laughed. Mainly due to the fact that ridicule may reverberate in rooms on earth, while reverence reverberates in heaven. And the sight of your name and picture inspires reverence in that place. Are you aware of the amount of information that has been recorded about you in the scrolls of heaven? Do you have any idea how long Jesus has been trying to get to this point? It was the revelation of what they had been trying to conceal with idle chatter and sideways glances. Certainly you have been concealed, but you have not been forgotten, sheltered, or discarded. Heaven published a headline that began with the phrase "chosen, crowned," at the very moment that they attempted to reduce you to a punchline. When in reality they were exposing themselves, they were under the impression that they were exposing you. On the other hand, you are about to ascend. Take a moment to linger here because this is very significant. Their viewpoint does not make you a victim in any way. The glory of God is contained within you. You cannot be defined by what their words stated. What you believe about what they said, however, can cause you to be delayed. So Jesus is challenging not only the words that they have spoken, but also the echo of those words that you have in your mind. The portion of you that still recoils in fear whenever particular names are mentioned is the part that considers the question, what if they were right? The component that continues to reduce its brightness in order to avoid being seen. It is now that he is speaking directly to that section. That was not the case. Not merely incorrect, but incorrect. You are not the person who they referred to you as. You are what I refer to as myself. I will refer to you as mine. You have been standing in a corridor for an excessive amount of time, ain't you? As you wait for the appropriate door to open, you may be wondering if you might have missed it. You may also be wondering whether their judgment may have delayed your destiny in some way. Jesus, however, wants you to know that there is no door that they can open that leads to your plan. What belongs to you has already been opened. It is not concealed from them. It is internal to you. Moreover, the corridor is coming to an end. You are not ashamed, you are not uncertain, but you are anointed as you step through the door that is appearing before you. You are not entering a room with the intention of being accepted. You are about to go on a journey that has been predetermined for you long before they ever mentioned your name. The sound that you hear in your spirit is the sound of heaven clapping and cheering for you to reach your goals. Now is the time to get back what was taken from you. Your expertise, your happiness, and your transparency. You've been wandering through the fog for a sufficient amount of time, constantly questioning your own judgment due to ideas that have never been founded on reality. Nevertheless, clarity is on the way. Not from them, but from the one who is always aware of everything. Your image is not something that Jesus is asking you to fight for. To rise into your individuality is what he is requesting of you. It is not a coincidence that you are here. There was no error in the way you told the story. Neither was the moment when they first laid eyes on you. The revelation included that particular point in time. Because of grandeur, not because of humiliation. And at this moment, glory is coming your way. The goal is not to make you famous but rather to complete you. Already, are you beginning to recognize it? The fact that this was never about them at any point in time. It was about what their reaction indicated, not about you but about what you carry. The moment they had a glimpse of it, it shook them, and now you are also catching a peek of it. That heavenly quality within you that causes devils to feel anxious and gives hope to those who have lost it. That beckoning that cannot be erased from a photograph or hushed by a whisper but cannot be ignored. The idea of being liked by everyone was never intended for you. You were designed to be a source of illumination for those who are in greatest need of it. And the ones that judged you, they only reinforced it. Mainly due to the fact that darkness can always react when light enters a room. But light never submits a request for permission to shine. It's happening even now. The transformation, the grand revelation, and the divine reversal occur. The power of every lie that has been told behind your back is being taken away for good. The voice of love himself is actively working to eradicate every thought that was developed without love. As you continue to reflect on these words, Jesus is sending something to you to hold in your hands. Not merely solace alone. It is not just comprehension that is required, but also authority, spiritual authority, and the ability to disengage from false reflections. You must have the discernment to realize whose voices you should quit listening to, as well as the bravery to eventually be who He has called you to be, without any remorse or hesitation. Regarding appearance, the photograph was never taken. Alignment was the topic at hand. A configuration that involves proclamation rather than destruction. And heaven is announcing that your identity is not up for discussion at this time. When they made a mistake in their evaluation of you, they disclosed more about themselves. And heaven added a new chapter to your legacy with each and every passing moment that you chose to remain silent. It's been far too long since you've spoken. It is not too late for you to get up. However, the reality is not in the cacophony. Your image was not the reason Jesus came to earth. You felt the shift, now fund the mission. Help this light reach more people. $44 or more through Super Thanks makes you part of something eternal. He arrived to expose the core of your being. Moreover, your very being is holy. I agree, holy. Dedicated, sanctified by the very fire that they believed would devour you, you were saved. It wasn't only that what they stated was unfair. Due to the fact that they solely considered what they could see, it was misinformed. However, Jesus talks from the knowledge that He possesses. He is familiar with you. Recognizes the child that you used to be. He is aware of the burden that you have carried in silently. Is aware of the brilliant mind that you possess. The warmth that resides within your heart. It is the sacred agony that resides within your spirit that will not allow you to accept anything less than what is genuine. It hurts so much. If you are phoning, it is Him. Also, He is calling out more loudly now. Some of the people who judged you will return. Don't be surprised. Don't panic. They will say that they didn't know, that they weren't sure, or that they were just joking. Some of them will try to rewrite history in order to avoid the discomfort of the truth. He is saying, they tried to define you by a moment, but I define you by eternity. And eternity is echoing your name with reverence. But you won't need to say anything because your life will speak. Your presence will preach. You are the message now. And the message is this. What God anoints, no man can define. They tried to bury you with their laughter, but they didn't know you were a seed. And now what's sprouting from that soil is nothing short of supernatural. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to explain. You just need to continue glowing, growing, glorifying the one who carried you through unseen wars. Because the greatest revenge is resurrection. This is your moment of sacred separation. Not from people but from false definitions. You are being called out of the crowd and into your calling. The labels they used no longer stick. The old labels that they assigned to you no longer ring true. You are now walking in a new frequency, one that only heaven can comprehend. And as you move forward, the shadows fall behind you. They are unable to follow you here because this is not simply the next chapter. It is a new book, and Jesus is handing you the pen. And this time, no one else gets to write your story. He's not just restoring your name. He's elevating it. What they saw as weakness was always wonder. What they dismissed as strange was always sacred. And now you are stepping into the identity that was whispered in heaven long before you were ever seen on earth. You've been faithful even when you were broken. Despite the fact that you wanted to vanish, despite the fact that the burden of misunderstanding crushed your ribs and caused you to question everything, you continued to remain. You continued to pray. You continued to love, and Jesus saw that. As a result, heaven is responding not with applause but with anointing. There is oil on your life now. Oil that flows not from perfection but from pain that has been redeemed. This oil cannot be erased by screenshots or snide remarks. It is eternal. And wherever you go now, you will carry it. Some people will still judge you. That is okay. They judged him as well. However, they are unable to stop what has already been spoken over you in the holy courts of heaven. This one is anointed. And that truth changes everything. You do not need to fear who sees you now. That fear is breaking, shattering. The cloak of self-doubt is slipping off your shoulders. Because when heaven affirms you, you walk different. You speak different. You show up without shrinking. And the you that they thought they understood, that version no longer exists. He is pouring confidence into your bones, clarity into your lungs, and purpose into your hands, and as he does so, you will begin to glow in ways that blind the blind but heal the humble. Jesus has called forth the truer version, the risen one. This is the version of you that no longer waits for others to understand you. This is the version that finally realizes that you have never needed their understanding to be worthy of love. You have made it through the judgment, through the assumptions, and through the secret rooms where your photo was passed around like a question. Can you hear the silence that has fallen now? The silence that follows the storm. The moment when your heart stops racing and your soul finally rests. That is the sound of peace. Not the kind that the world gives. The kind that only Jesus can give. What Jesus chooses, he covers, he raises, and he launches. Therefore, stand up today, for this peace is your portion. You were always chosen. Even when they overlooked you, even when they misinterpreted you, even when they minimized you, you were chosen. And what Jesus chooses, he covers, he lifts, and he launches. The opinions that once felt like chains, they're falling. The judgments that used to ring in your head like thunder, they're fading. All that remains now is truth. A sacred blazing truth that cannot be shaken. You are not who they said you were. You are who he says you are. Let it echo. Let it break every agreement you made with lies just to survive. Let it heal every bruise you got from being misunderstood. Because from this moment forward, you don't live in reaction to what was said. You live in revelation of what's been revealed. And what's been revealed is divine. Their version of you was edited by ego. His version of you is authored by eternity. The truth is about to be revealed. You are rising not to prove anything but to fulfill everything. Every prophecy, every promise, and every whispered prayer that your spirit uttered when no one was listening. He was listening. He always was. Jesus is showing you who you have always been. He is not showing you the fragile image that was left behind in the whispers. He is showing you the warrior that was shaped in silence. In this moment, the fire that attempted to consume you has instead refined you. The judgment that attempted to bury you has instead made you bulletproof. The silence that attempted to erase you has instead amplified your voice. This moment is not the end. Rather, it is the beginning of vision, of valor, and of victory. Jesus speaks now, finally, clearly, and with power. You were never defined by their whispers. You were defined by my word. You are not a victim of gossip. You are a vessel of glory. You are not who the world said you were. You are who I sent. And from this moment forward, no picture, no comment, no side eye, and no rumor will ever carry more weight than what heaven has already decreed. You are chosen, protected, prepared, and powerful. You are seen not for your image but for your impact. You are rising not to be light but to be light. And if you've made it this far, know this. You were never meant to blend in. You were born to break chains. Like, comment, and subscribe. Not just to stay connected, but to declare something in the spirit. This is due to the fact that heaven does not seek the approval of the world for what it has already blessed.